So people are coming in. All right, so we're going to start with some pranayama this evening. So I'm not going to do a big run up because very often we're running in life and we tend to run from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And then we get to the end of the day and we fall over and we're exhausted and we realize that we didn't take time to breathe. Okay. So one of the ways that we can just reset is to remember just to be conscious throughout the day, to take just a few minutes to reconnect. Okay. So I just want you, however you're sitting, wherever you are, unless you're driving a car, to just sit comfortably and really zero expectations. Zero expectations about this practice. It's just to take a few minutes to reconnect with the breath. So we're going to do Anulom Vilom. So this is inhaling through the left, holding, exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right, holding, and exhaling through the left. Now, to count, I would say you want to do 1, 1, 2 or 1, 2, 2. So that means that you are inhaling, let's say it's 5 seconds. You're holding for either 5 or 10 seconds, depending on your breath hold capacity, and you're exhaling for 10. Okay, so the exhale is always double the inhale, and you choose whether the breath hold is the same length as the inhale or the same length as the exhale. Okay? Everyone clear on that? So if you're driving a car, just focus on doing long, deep breathing. And those of you who are sitting in a room somewhere, just take a moment. And we're just going to do 3 minutes. Okay, very short. No expectation. It's just really to take a moment to connect. Take a break from the last activity, going into the next activity. So when you're ready, begin. And finishing this cycle of the breath. And then just taking a moment just when you finish to check in how you feel. So the idea with a short breathing practice or a short meditation practice is that it just helps us to reset, because we are on autopilot through so much of our daily lives. We don't even realize how habitual everything is, how automated, how unconscious. And by bringing in a very short breath practice throughout the day, particularly around habits that we want to change, we massively enhance our ability to make those changes. So this time of day, we're talking today about early lighter dinner. Yeah, our first habit. So we're all leading fairly different lifestyles at the moment. But for most of us, there is sort of a flow through the day. There's a sequence of events, things that we do, work, and planning our last meal and making sure that we're organized and are really eating what we feel that our body needs in that moment is a mindset shift that is really important. So the earlier lighter dinner is the habit that we're going to look at again this week. So those of you who've done one cycle, you may have had, well, you will have had varying degrees of success at integrating this one. And if we're going to have an earlier lighter dinner, we need to make sure, can you hear me? I'm getting some static on my screen. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Okay. So if we're going to set ourselves up for a successful earlier lighter dinner, we need to think about what we're doing in the day. So that feeds into our breakfast and our lunch. So I just want you all to take a moment to write down what you ate today and when, including any snacks. Okay, so if you've got pen and paper, if you're driving, just make a mental note. What have you eaten today and when? And include anything that was snacking, that was unconscious, that just kind of happened to find itself in your mouth, maybe. It happens to me sometimes. How did that get there? Yeah, so just take a couple of moments to be really honest about your eating pattern just today. Jean-Phi, yes, that's you too. I know you went out, so you've probably had some apple tart and some crepe and some, I don't know, chicken sandwiches, vegan chicken sandwiches. Yeah, write it all down. Write it all down. And the times that you ate as well. Because if we're going to have success with earlier lighter dinner, the way that we're eating and what we're eating throughout the day is really, really important. This is sort of a bigger picture version of trigger, habit, reward. Like, how are we setting ourselves up for the new habit? And then the reward comes later. Okay. So Capucine, would you like to share what you ate today?
No.
No.
but I will.
Thank you.
So so I start my days pretty late, as you know. So I had breakfast at 10, and I had an orange, and I have a piece of, this is something very bad, but this is something I'm saving for the last quarter to get rid of. I'm having a piece of some kind of a cake. It's like my gluten craving in the morning. So this is not homemade. This is terrible. But I'm having a small piece. And with that, I'm having just hot water with cinnamon apple flavor. But it's not tea. It's just
Yeah.
I don't infusion.
Yeah.
Something that Then at 1 p.m. I had lunch, and I had green long beans, green, yeah. With one piece of ham, but like white ham, like very not very greasy, but still meat. But I mean, it's, you know, one of the things that you buy in like very
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I had dessert with 3 teaspoons of white, some kind of yogurt with some kind of mashed fruit with it.
Okay.
And then I would have considered this not so bad, but because my niece is here, she baked a cake. So I just had a piece of cake, and I done for today. It was so sweet. I just can't eat anything for today. So I'm gonna do intermittent fasting, I guess.
Okay.
For tonight. Yeah.
All right.
I don't plan to eat anything.
Okay. So if you hadn't have had the cake, then you would be having something a little bit later this evening?
Probably, but I would have eat, as we are having this call,
Right.
I would have soup.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Okay. So who else wants to share their
Well, I didn't.
food for the day? I don't know if Lynn or Tessa can, or we could have, I don't know, Paula, you were out of the room, I think.
I think it's just my camera was kind of playing up. I don't know why. I was here and I could hear everything.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you write down then your food today? Okay, off you go.
Bear in mind that I am in Spain. I am in my father's house, so I do have to adapt a little bit to their timing. I'm having breakfast at 10 these days because I get up earlier in the morning and do breath work and have a shower and everything before I have breakfast. So that's pretty standard, like breakfast at 10 a.m. I have an oat milk latte, and today I had some madeleines that my father brought from bakery, so I had some of those. Then at lunch, we had lunch at 3 p.m. Because we have lunch later here, and also it's a massive snowstorm in Spain, so we went to get bread hiking like for 3 miles across the snow in full snow gear. So we got home quite late and we started making lunch, and that was roast meat and potatoes.
Mhm.
And then clementines for a dessert, with a coffee and one square of dark chocolate. And then for dinner, normally, like, we haven't had dinner yet, but normally we're having dinner at about 8 a.m., 8 p.m. or 8:30 or something like that.
Mm.
And it is just fruit or a yogurt or sometimes a soup or a salad or something like that. So that generally is quite late. Yeah, we haven't had that yet, but yeah, it is. I try to stick to the timings of when my family eats as well, because when I'm here, and I think, yeah, the breakfast is not too bad, the dinner's not too bad, but the lunchtime is always super, super late. But then we nap.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else want to share? Otherwise, we'll go on. No. Okay. So you want to share?
Yes, why not?
Go on then. Go on then.
Oh, but I have to say that today is not a very good day. It's a pity you didn't ask that for in all the days, but today was a bit no. So I
Same here, Jean-Philippe, don't worry.
yeah, I just want not to feel ashamed too much. So I started by breakfast after work, morning time, because I had a night shift. And did I say what it was? No, it was eggs with a piece of bread. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt a bit emotional, so I bought un pain au chocolat, chocolate bread.
Croissant, yeah, chocolate croissant.
Yeah, and but just next to it, it was also another one, like raisin bread, raisin.
And a raisin, yeah.
Yeah, and they look so well together that I couldn't resist to buy them.
Okay.
And yeah, I had them in the early afternoon, and then I went for shopping, and yeah, I was hungry, and I'm a bit ashamed to say that, but I went to the Quick.
Oh.
Yes, and I feel ashamed. Yeah, I maybe I shouldn't be so honest, but yes, I had how does it called, a kingfish, because I don't want to eat beef, so I had a kingfish.
A fish burger,
basically. It was so good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I came back, and I had in the end of the afternoon, I had a bowl of cereals, but healthy one. Huh? I have to precise, not sugar, that kind of things. Very, very like oats.
Yeah.
And that kind of things. But after that, I took a piece of chocolate. Yes.
Okay.
And that's it. It's not so bad. Huh?
And are you going to eat this evening?
Yes. Yeah. My dinner is already ready in the fridge, and it's gonna be a mix of yes, brown rice and vegetables. Very nice one, huh, Sarah, with vegetables, and it's a mix of onions, carrots, zucchini, garlic, and lentils.
Your usual.
Yes, my usual.
Okay.
With brown rice.
All right. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. So.
Very good. Okay. So we can see just from this little snapshot, I also have had a very bad food day. My breakfast was good. I have my rice porridge, and then I went out and I had a meeting, and I had to do some other stuff. And then I was hungry. I had a Spanish tortilla and an orange juice, which was okay. Then I went to see a friend. I had a piece of bread with cheese with her. And then I came home and I had some rice crackers with cheese. So I've been grazing today, which nothing has been, oh, and I did have 2 squares of dark chocolate. So nothing has been really bad, but if we're looking towards, you know, an ideal food day, we can see how quickly our schedule dictates what we eat, how we eat, when we eat. And it's really quite challenging to stick to a really rigid routine. So the earlier lighter dinner is the first habit, because what we're looking at really is, how do we want to feel tomorrow? And if we want to wake up early and do some meditation or some movement, and feel like we have good energy and have a clear mind, and be enthusiastic about the day that's starting, the day preceding is really important. So this is why the earlier lighter dinner is the first habit. But of course, in order to do the earlier lighter dinner, we need to be conscious a little bit of how we're planning our meals throughout the day. So what I'm finding happens to me actually is that I'm almost automatically intermittent fasting at the moment, because my breakfast is around 10:30, because it's a big bowl of rice porridge. I'm not hungry, you know, unless I'm out and I'm doing things. Normally I don't get hungry till 3 or 4, and then that's it. Then I'll have my main meal. So I will have some steamed vegetables, maybe some rice. I bought some little veggie burgers the other day, so I've had those. Or yesterday I had some pasta. And then that's it. And then I don't eat for the rest of the day. So the intermittent fasting is sort of one way to get around the earlier lighter dinner. But for most people, there will be 3 meals throughout the day. But the important thing is to remember that that last meal should be light. It should be early and it should be light, because we looked at the Doshik clock in our last session. Yeah, so 6 till 10 p.m. is kapha time. So kapha time is earth and water. It's a downward pull. It's heavy, it's cozy, it's connecting. It is not digesting. It is not moving. Okay. And so if we put a meal in at that time of day, firstly, it's not going to get digested. And then secondly, when we come into the nighttime pitta, 10 p.m. till 2 a.m., the stomach, the body is being pulled in 2 directions. The natural wisdom of the body is at nighttime to get on with the housework, to cleanse, to detoxify, to rebuild cells and tissue, to strengthen the immune system. So everything that needs to be fixed, nighttime is the time that the body gets to do that, because it's not doing anything else. But if we've had a heavy late meal, then we're also demanding that the body try to digest that, which it can't do it effectively, and B, it's also being drawn away from the housework. So you kind of get the worst of both worlds. Yeah, you're not going to digest that meal, and you're going to build up more armor. So for this week, be conscious of the breakfast and the lunch meal. Yeah, if we're going to set ourselves up for success for an earlier, lighter dinner, we need to make sure we have a good lunch. If we're just snacking through the day, you know, if we're busy, we're in the office or we're running around and we're just snacking, it's very, very difficult to ask ourselves then to just to have a bowl of soup in the evening and for that to feel enough. So try to have the main meal of the day at lunchtime, because that's when you have your daytime pitta, which is the highest digestive fire. And that's how you're going to absorb maximum nutrients from that food. Yes, Tessa.
Yeah, I have a question. If you say, like, I often do intermittent fasting as well, but not the whole week, but a few days a week, especially especially after a weekend, when we do tend to snack a bit at night or drink alcohol. I often do not feel hungry the next morning, or I kind of take my breakfast at 11, which is a bit of a brunch, but then a healthy brunch. I tend to eat as well my lunch more towards 4 o'clock, but then I do eat my lunch and I don't eat my dinner. So I do eat a good portion of lunch, because if I do eat dinner, like a light soup or something like that, I get hungry in the evening again. Is that okay, or is it?
So
if it's only your second meal of the day, is it okay to have a heavier meal than the light dinner?
Yeah. I mean, if you're eating at 4, yes, if you're eating at 4, you still have quite a strong pitta.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the later it gets, the lighter it needs to become.
Yeah.
But that sounds fine.
I tend to eat light in the evening and heavier at noon at the other days. But yeah, okay. Thanks.
Okay. Good. So just a reminder also, so those of you who've gone through one cycle, to Kaizen. Okay, so whatever is going on for you now, and however out of alignment it is from the ideal or where you would like to be, just start to design the small steps backwards. Okay, so if you find that you're tending to eat later or heavier, what's the smallest step, the smallest change that you can make for this next week, just to bring yourself slightly back into alignment? And it's not about making a change every day. It's about making one change per week and allowing that to settle in before you then make the next change. Okay. So for this week, just focus on food and really trying to bring the bulk of your nutrition to the middle of the day. And that should include proteins and carbs and fats. And then the end of the day is much more watery, lighter, easier, quicker to digest food. All right. Okay, does anyone have any last questions on earlier, lighter dinner? No? Good. Okay. So in that case, what I want us to do is to look at the guideline of the week. And who's going to read for us today? Jean-Phi, can you read this week's guideline for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. When each of us engage fully, we all can grow and feel supported and safe. Being all in speaks as much to the quality of our engagement as to the quantity. This guideline sets the standard for everyone that follows. Your commitment is as much to the group and other members as it is to yourself. If your tendency is to be more passive, bring yourself forward into the discomfort of sharing. If your tendency is to always speak out, step back into the discomfort of containing the space for others. Commit to get comfortable with the discomfort, commit to allowing everyone to show up fully, attentively, and vulnerably.
Beautifully read. Thank you. Okay. So be all in. So this is really, it's the first guideline in the program, and it's the one that really sets the mindset for the whole program. This is sort of the container of the container, if you like. So this is really about recognizing that you've made a commitment. And that commitment, first and foremost, is to yourself and to your own transformation. But because the work that we're doing is within the dynamics of a group, the quality of your participation has an impact on the entire dynamic. Okay, so as a direct result, the quality that you bring for yourself personally will have a direct impact on how everybody else experiences the sessions and the journey for themselves. So this is in accountability partners, of course. Are you there for each other? Are you really showing up? Are you allowing yourself to be vulnerable when you meet with your accountability partner? Are you asking for support when you're finding things are getting a bit tough? Or do you just sit back and think, oh, well, it'll pass. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to share. It's not important enough. I'm not important enough. Whatever reasons and excuses that we bring for not sharing. I want you to start to become aware of those. And, you know, we see it again and again. We've seen it in the first quarter, and I know that we're going to see it throughout, is that the moment that somebody opens up and brings something into the space that they're struggling with, probably feeling very uncomfortable doing so, probably feeling very vulnerable, very nervous about sharing, 100% of the time, the response from the group is either, me too, I'm so glad that you reached out and shared today, that helped me so much, or I hear you, and how can I support you? The judgment that we fear is something that we reserve entirely for ourselves. And I'm sure that you can all reflect on recognizing that we judge ourselves, we are so harsh with ourselves in a way that we would never ever dream of being with somebody else. So this quality of being all in is to really recognize that you deserve to be all in for yourself, and the group deserves for you to be all in as well. And that when you are, that's really one of the most powerful ways that you're going to transform. Okay. The other thing I wanted to look at today, which we also looked at last time, is identity evolution. Now, earlier lighter dinner and early to bed are really classic ones because they are so embedded in society, in expectations. I don't go to bed early. I tend to be a night owl. I need to eat a big dinner. I blah, 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 blah. I had a really, I'm going to share the photos in the forum this week, but a very interesting insight. I've been spending a lot of time in the forest and on the mountain. And directly behind our house here, there are these incredible rocks, this big outcrop of rocks. And when I look at them from the house, they're all clumped together. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 massive rocks, but they're all in one place. When I walk around the side of the mountain, I see that there's one here, there's one here, and there's one here. They're 4 massive rocks, and they're really quite spread out. And that just got me to thinking about perspective. And the dynamic that we grow up in, our family unit, our school, our peer group, our society, trains us to think in one way, a certain way. And it is so, we take that so much for granted that we don't even realize that it's happened. We think that that is how everybody thinks, or we think that that is the only way that we can think. We are on these tracks and we're not even considering the possibility to step off them. But we can think in an infinite number of ways. There are no rules, other than if you're following Buddhism, about right thinking and wrong thinking. And what I want you to do is to turn that concept in on yourself, because everything that you believe about yourself, everything that you believe is possible, everything that you believe is normal, everything that you believe is this is how things are, or this is the only way I can do it, that has only come about because that's the way you've been trained to think and trained to see. But if you were to walk around, and I've only gone 90 degrees around these rocks. I haven't looked at them from the top and I haven't looked at them from the other side. If you start to change your perspective about yourself, imagine that you were not born in the country that you were born in. Imagine that you didn't have the parents that you have. You know, I sometimes look at, I come sometimes into contact with young women who are really spiritually advanced for their age. And then I kind of think, I wonder how I would be now if I'd have had parents who were on a spiritual path, or who were more open to talk about emotions. How would I be today if my parents had just been slightly different? And then my schooling, let alone if I'd grown up in another country or another culture. And when we start to expand our awareness about ourselves in this way, we can start to see how these habits and how attached we are to these habits of, this is how I do something and I can't possibly change it. We see actually how rigid we are in our thinking and how unnecessary that is. So just a slight change of perspective is required on this journey. It doesn't have to be massive. It can also just be that 1%, that crack of the door opening, which means that there is the possibility for change. There is the possibility for a different perception, a different attitude, a different way of doing things. And to catch ourselves in the moment when we're in that rigidity, when we're in that pattern of, but this is how I do things. There's also our sort of habitual eating. I eat at this time, but also I eat when I feel slightly hungry. How might it feel, even with a little bit of hunger, to have that last meal at 3 o'clock and go through the evening on herbal tea and go to bed with an empty stomach, a slightly hungry stomach, just to experiment to see how that feels? Or even to have a good breakfast and a good lunch and to do intermittent fasting through the rest of the day. How might that be for you? Just to soften some of our attachment to the habits that are there, and to see that they are only there because that's how we've been trained to think. And a shift in perspective might look like, actually, I like going to bed feeling slightly hungry. I enjoy that feeling. There's a big movement within the community that I'm in now of cold showers. And people are making this huge identity shift from I hate cold water to I absolutely love having cold showers. I look forward to it. It makes me feel amazing. And now I have two. I have one in the morning because it energizes me to start my day. And I have one before going to bed because I've realized I sleep better. Now, those realizations can't come about if we remain in the identity of I hate cold water. Just as earlier lighter dinners become much, much harder if we're somebody who says, but I have to eat at 8 o'clock, or I have to have meat or pasta or carbs or whatever. Yeah. Most of you are probably pretty good on this habit already, I think. But the concept of the identity evolution and shifting your perspective, changing that identity, catching the identity that is limiting, because it can be subtle and it can be fleeting, but it's really there. Yeah. For me, that I hate cold water is a huge thing. And I'm starting to have cold showers, and I'm recognizing that I feel really, really good afterwards. And they're not as bad as I thought. Breathe through it, and it actually feels pretty good. So we all have the opportunity to just shift our perspective and to see ourselves in a new way, just like these rocks, which I thought was one formation and is actually four. Yeah, we're not the people that we think we are. We don't have to continue living with these outdated identities. Does anyone want to share something on this point? I don't know if Lynn or Tessa are able to share from cars. No, maybe not. Okay, anybody else? Paula, Jean-Phil, or Capucine? Ah, Tessa's come on. Tessa.
Yeah, I can share a little bit. I have the same experience with cold showers. Actually, every shower I take now, even if it's a warm one, I have to finish off with a
Cold.
Yeah, I don't know how long, but a cold shower. I often do kapalabhati in the morning under the shower because I use a neti pot to clean my nose. Not every day. I used to do it every day, but when we did the yogi detox, they told me it was not really good to do it every day. So I stopped doing it every day. But yeah, I breathe through it as well. And sometimes I'm a bit confused or distracted, and I step out of the shower and then I dry up, and then I realize, oh, I haven't had my cold flush, and I just jump back in for the cold flush. So and I used to hate cold water, really hate cold water. I'm the person who you would find in a swimming pool with a 7mm suit. So I mean, yeah.
So
That
how
was
did
really
you make that shift?
bit by bit, actually. Just very, very small steps. It also, I started it again when I had my zona. I think it's called shingles in English.
Mm.
And yeah, I had an orthomolecular doctor who told me that my due to me staying out of the cold water in the swimming pool and the sea, he told me that my nervus vagus wasn't triggered enough.
Okay.
And it was really important for my immune system. And I had also done a little mini course with Wim Hof, and so I just started it again, and bit by bit I came to the point now for the past few years. I don't remember, maybe 2.5 years that I haven't missed a cold shower.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Only with Corona, it was a challenge to take my showers early in the morning. But yeah, I've started it again also with the process we're doing now.
Mhm.
There was a point during the lockdown that I sometimes started working in my pajamas.
Mm. Yeah.
So, but I haven't done that for a very long time. I really needed to keep the structure,
Yeah.
the normal working structure alive. So
Yeah.
I've been pretty disciplined in it. Yeah, that's been a big one for me.
So you are now a woman who loves cold showers. New
Yes,
identity.
and I'm less cold in the swimming pool as well.
Mm.
I feel less cold outside. I've had less colds
Mhm.
during the time I've done the cold showers, so I can definitely see the benefits.
Yeah. So this is the ojas, which I talked about in the last cycle. So building our ojas. Ojas is a concept in Ayurveda which we just don't have an equivalent for in Western medicine, but it's the totality of the strength of our digestion, our immunity, and our nervous system. And those three things together really define our overall health. And that is known in Ayurveda as ojas. And so when our ojas is strong, we have a really good vital life force. We have strong immunity. We have great energy. And we're calm. The nervous system responds in an appropriate manner to situations. When we're not building our ojas, so when we're not getting enough sleep, when we're not nourishing ourselves correctly, when we have an increase in ama, then the ojas, Kate describes it's like a container, and that container starts to develop cracks, and the life force energy starts to leak out from the container of the ojas. So we start to feel less energized. We start to get more sick, more lethargy, and it's that sort of slowness and that, life no longer feels fun as the way that we know it can and should when our ojas starts to break down. So the cold showers and all of these habits and having a strong spiritual practice, this all goes towards really creating strong ojas, which is sort of what defines our sense of well-being. Thank you, Tessa. Does anyone else want to share about an old identity, a new identity?
Thanks.
Thank you, love. Could be around exercise, it could be around meditation, it could be around, maybe an identity that you're just getting conscious of wanting to incorporate a change, something that you recognize is outdated that you want to shift.
I just would like to thank you, Tessa and Sarah, obviously, because I think I just had a click in my head. Like I hate cold shower. I'm very cold in the water in general. I'm having like a 3 meal in a 30 degrees water. It's ridiculous. And I've always wanted to have cold shower. I've always wanted to do the Wim Hof thing. I'm on a Facebook group of Wim Hof, even though I've never done it before. But it's like, oh yeah, one day I have to do this, and obviously it never worked. And now I kind of it's just the ping. The thing is also is like now I'm sharing bathroom, so I have to push, like in swimming pools I have to push, and the water is falling down for a certain amount of time in a certain temperature, and if I want to change the temperature I have to go out of the shower and change it manually, where it's really not easy to do. And I thought, okay, so I will never have my cold shower because it's too complicated. And that little thing just is not an obstacle anymore, apparently, in my head. So, but I'm gonna Kaizen it, and I'm gonna just switch it just a little bit, not full hot like it is now, because also I'm not the only one using this shower, so I'm going to also have to need to remember to put the heat back on again. But yeah, well, we'll see what's going on, but something happened in my head and I just wanted to share it. Sorry, I took a lot of time to say,
No,
but thank you.
great.
We'll
Is
see.
there, I'm just thinking about the Kaizening. Is there a bathtub that you could run cold water into?
No, there's no bathtub.
There's no bathtub. Okay. All right.
No.
Well, start Kaizening, and you can put your hands under cold water in the sink tap. And this starts to send the message to the brain. You're starting to acclimatize yourself to short bursts of cold water. Good.
Are your feet in a bucket?
Feet in a bucket, yes. Yeah. So new identity, Capucine?
I think so. Well, we'll see. I don't want to scare myself.
Okay, say it out loud, because once it's out there, then we're with you on it.
Okay, so definitely there is something outdated, and I'm open to the idea that I can shift it, and I just have to decide. And I want to try less hot showers, and eventually it's gonna be cold.
Mhm.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Good luck. Stay tuned.
Shifting.
Yay. Well
Thanks.
done. Well done. All right. Time for one more. Does anyone else want to bring something up or get some coaching on something? Paula, you're here for the first cycle, so I don't know if there's anything that you're feeling like, what's going on? Or are you good with everything?
Yeah, I'm good with everything. I was talking with Sophia the other day, because we're new, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things like in our work that we want to change, and then there's the habits and all of that. So then, and for me, it's tricky as well because I'm not in my house and I can't. If I have my own rhythm for everything, then I'm isolated from my family, which I don't want to do because I don't see them often. So I'm choosing to take it little by little, and I'm focusing on just like really establishing a habit from the morning practice, getting to bed early and doing the morning practice, and I'm focusing on that.
Great.
And then I'll build something in, and that's how I'm taking it.
Sounds
And
perfect.
the cold showers, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you love the cold. You should be rolling naked in the snow right now, Paula. That's your
You
challenge.
know what? I have been, but I live with people. That's the thing. So I've been trying to see, like, because right now I'm with my dad and his wife. I'm waiting for them both to leave the house at the same time, and I do want to roll around naked. But I have been. It's really glorious. I've been walking around like in a tank top and just getting like the feeling of the cold and the sun. It's really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not a struggle, but yeah, I'm focusing just on the morning practice for now.
All right. No, that sounds very, very good. Well done. Jean-Philippe, you want to share something or ask something? Get coaching on something? Chocolate croissants?
Yeah, so I would say that for me as well, freezing cold shower every morning is, yes, I agree, it's super nice. And
Since when?
you want to say something? No, okay, no, I'm just kidding. Just idea get me cold. So, and yes, I could try until, let's say, I could try to my knees, and maybe gradually get some step to.
It's one way to Kaizen it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that maybe there are some advantage of it, but for me it's not. Now it's very. If I have to, if I can talk frankly, now it's a big tendency, the cold water, snow, and Wim Hof method, and that kind of things. And maybe it's good, but I'm not sure that there are such big advantages to do it.
Well,
I'm not.
There is. I would agree that there is a trend about it now, but it's in yogic. Science also. Hydrotherapy. It's called Ishnan, and it's part of the practice in many lineages to have this water therapy, this hydrotherapy, cold water therapy, because what you do is you force the blood to rush in and rush out and rush in and rush out, and this has such a powerful cleansing effect and energizing effect, and it's also amazing for the immune system and the nervous system. So it's not just a new fad. I would say that it's just the way that more and more people are practicing yoga and meditation. People are waking up to ancient technologies which worked, and which, because, well, why would you have a cold shower if you can have a hot shower? Human intelligence created technology which separated us from these ancient wisdoms. So it's not to say that everybody has to do it, but the invitation is there to experiment. So while you were here in La Palma, I just started then, and it would be in, out, and turn around and do my back, and then and that would be it. Now I'm in for a minute and a half, and I get out when my hands are physically hurting because of the constriction of the blood vessels. So I don't know how long I'm in there at the moment. So Wim Hof he just happens to be the man who has brought an ancient technology back to life, in my opinion. So the invitation is there.
Yeah, okay.
It's the concept. It doesn't have to be cold showers. It's the concept of identity evolution. So you do have an identity of somebody who doesn't like cold showers. It could be something to shift.
I would say that for me, two things. Maybe, yeah, as I said at the beginning, maybe it has some advantage, but I have to say that I met some yogis, practitioner, and they lived in hot, warm land, warm country. No cold shower, and they were perfectly healthy. So I have to say that for me also, it's important, I think, to listen to body. If I live in a more warm country like Spain or what, for sure I will like a lot cold shower. Like when I went to Minorca, it was every day cold shower. But here, when it's cold, my body is more keen to have a not very hot shower, because I don't like that, but a bit warm. I think it's important also to listen to the body, but for sure, I agree. Maybe there are some advantages of it. I don't want to contest this.
Yeah, and I think that point of listening to the body is also very valid and important. And for me, I found myself in that conflict yesterday, I think, of thinking I should do some yoga. And then I was like, but I really don't feel like it. And I was like, but is that my old resistance and my laziness? Is that an identity? Is that something that I should push through because I know that once I've done yoga, I'm going to feel better? Or is it the time of my cycle that my body just doesn't want to do yoga? You know, so I don't think there are, you know, there isn't one correct answer in any of this. And so what Jean-Phil's saying is also justified. You know, listening to the body and learning to respect that is good. But for me, I know that I can also have a tendency to be a bit lazy and to be a bit lethargic, particularly when it comes to physical practice. So the new identity is a way for me to experiment and motivate myself through that old pattern. And in doing the yoga, let's say, I then have the experience and I can then say, yes, this feels good, or actually, no, I was right. This doesn't feel right to me now. And so I'm only going to do 5 minutes of practice. But taking that first step to get on the mat, or taking that first step to put your hands under the cold water, is a way of finding out how it feels and finding out whether the resistance to the change is resistance because your body is trying to tell you something, or resistance because there's an old habit which doesn't want to die. And a key thing about transformation is we have to acknowledge that there is going to be discomfort. We often have to do the thing that feels the polar opposite to what we actually want at the time. Yeah. To have the green smoothie rather than the chocolate bar, to go to do the yoga rather than watch the Netflix, to have the cold shower rather than the hot shower, or just a cold blast at the end. Yeah. So it's in experimenting. And this is where Kaizen is so helpful, because we're not saying you have to have a 5-minute cold shower. We're just saying, put your hands under and then take them out and see how it feels. And then make a decision. And then maybe tomorrow it's your hands and your arms. But to kind of make space, make room for both, I think is really, really important, because otherwise we might stay stuck in a rigidity thinking that it's our body telling us what it needs, when actually it's our mind and our ego coming through the body. That's just my reflection on that.
If I can add something,
I
would say that it's more a question of to stay flexible in the head, because as an example, when you say, oh yeah, sometimes I like to practice the yoga, but I can feel that my body doesn't want to. No, it's because your body actually knows what it has to do when you practice the yoga. Maybe it's 1.5 hours on the mat, and is not ready for that, but still you'd like to practice the yoga, and maybe just 20 minutes of practice, more soft or different, or 30 minutes will be perfectly okay.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it was like that. I noticed that for a while I wanted to practice, but my body was, and then I realized that actually, yes, I want to practice, but I don't want to practice for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And to do 250 postures.
Yeah.
Just 45 minutes was perfect. And then I was aligned with my mind and my body, and it was even better than before.
Yeah.
And I think that for the show, it's the same, because we live in a culture where we have to do this, because it's smart, because it's cool, because it's so this or so that. And I think it's also important to feel that it's right.
But in order to know it's right, you have to try it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So Kaizen, there we have Kaizen.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we're going to go on, Paula.
Just because I am a big fan of the cold in general, I don't think it has to be about cold showers. I mean, the cold showers is an easy way to access that, but I think what's important is to not have our bodies being comfortable all of the time. So if you do live in a country that's cold, people will, they're inside with the central heating turned on like crazy. they get into the car that's really heated. When they go out, they have like so many layers on them that they can barely move. And they never experience like the slightest bit of discomfort from the cold. And I'm quite the opposite. So I do, and as I've grown up, I do it more and more. I take more layers off. And when I go out, I am freezing cold. And everyone's wearing a coat and a hat and a scarf, and I'm just going out in a cardigan. And people tell me, are you not cold? I am, but I let myself, like, I'm fine with being a little bit uncomfortable.
Mm.
You were talking about benefits before. The benefits that I see is that my body is used to having, like, to experiencing different temperatures. So then I don't get colds and I don't get flus like all of my colleagues do, who would spend the whole winter, like, going from one to the next.
Mm.
And I never have a cold or a flu because my body takes a little bit of, like, different temperature, a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's how I find it for me. So I mean, the cold shower thing might be a trend, and that's fair enough. And if you don't want to go for that, but what is important for me, at least, is allowing my body to be a little bit uncomfortable from time to time.
Mm. Whatever that means, a little bit hungry, a little bit cold, going to bed when you're not exhausted, still feeling like you have some energy, but I'm going to relax anyway. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. A lot of stuff coming up. It's great. All right. So I'm guessing that Lynn can't speak, but Lynn, it's been lovely to have you with us. You too, Tessa, and thank you everybody for sharing this evening. Because we're missing quite a few people, I would ask that you reach out to your accountability partners and just check in with them. How are they doing? Why did they not make the call? Is there anything that they need? Maybe share something that touched you from today's experience, and encourage them to come back so that we can really start this cycle and get going. So the next call is on Saturday at 11 European time, I think. Is it? Let me just check. I need to get my head around the new. Yes. No, 9 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock your time. 11 o'clock your time.
11, yeah.
Yeah, 11 o'clock your time on Saturday. And we will be looking at the mind. It's the big one. Okay. So the worksheets are in the hub. Yeah, dive in, have a dig around, watch the videos on the Body Thrive Hub around earlier, lighter dinner. Do the worksheets if you feel called to. The check sheets are really, really useful, that you just print them off and put them on your fridge or on your bedroom wall or wherever, that you just sort of, Monday, did I do it? Tuesday, did I do it? Wednesday, did I do it? So that you can start to keep a track of your habits and how you're building them. Okay. All right. So have a lovely evening, everybody. We've got gorgeous, gorgeous sunset here. Look at that. Whoa. So nice.
Too lucky.
I know, I'm lucky.
Not fair.
All right. So I'll see you on Saturday. You can unmute and have a quick goodbye. Lovely to see you all, and thank you for some great sharings tonight.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Sarah, can I talk to you 2 seconds about somebody who might join?
Yes.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll stay on. Thank you, Tessa.